Bangladesh is witnessing escalating turmoil, and this instability poses a grave danger to India. The porous border with our neighbour, spanning over 4,000 kilometres, has always been a challenge for Indian authorities. Now, reports of the deployment of advanced drones by Bangladesh and the rising terrorist threats in the post-Sheikh Hasina scenario have grave implications for India. So how vulnerable is India's border with Bangladesh, and what are its implications for national security? India Today's Shreya Chatterjee spent a week at the border to bring you this exclusive ground report.
A country in chaos. Struggling to fight a dangerous implosion. With its political system on the boil following the departure of Sheikh Hasina and extremist groups on the loose, the last 4 months have turned India's friend into a volatile, unfriendly neighbour. But if what's happening inside Bangladesh is troubling, there's worse on the border with India. The dirty old secret of infiltration. Seen thus far as a nuisance and political inevitability, has now become a full-fledged security threat. Via unguarded rivers or across thinly protected land fences, in the hands of a well-oiled syndicate. You're about to see just how organized and easy infiltration actually is. The Indo-Bangladesh border is one of the longest international boundaries India shares with any country. Stretching over 4,096 kilometers, it cuts through riverine terrains, dense forests and villages. Despite our efforts to tighten border security, vast stretches remain unfenced, making it alarmingly porous. India Today's special investigative team set out to investigate a tip-off from sources in the Border Security Force that there have been an alarming increase in infiltration attempts in the months following the Bangladesh political meltdown, particularly along the North Bengal frontier. This region, dotted with rivers and difficult terrain, has become the prime target for infiltrators who exploit the gaps in our border defences, as you'll now see. First, the terrain we're talking about. The total length of the Indo-Bangladesh border is 4,000 kilometres. Out of this, 2,217 kilometres is under West Bengal. 963 kilometres of the border in Bengal remains unfenced. 50 kilometres of it in Cooch Behar is still unfenced. It's here that the Dharla River acts as a natural boundary, and its shifting course making fencing impossible. River islands are used as hideouts and transit points by infiltrators, and the unfenced areas are used to smuggle cattle, drugs and fake currency. Our first stop was a notorious little highway of infiltration in North Bengal's Cooch Behar. Within minutes, we saw glaring security lapses at two of the most vulnerable points. In one instance, a local tout showed us how people walk into Bangladesh after crossing the BSF's domination line through an unsecured riverine stretch under the cover of darkness.
গ্রাম দিয়ে যাবে না বর্ডার দিয়ে যাবে
Border.
বর্ডার দিয়ে যাবে ওইদিকে গ্রাম ওইদিকে মাঠ
The absence of security personnel on both sides of the border was troubling. We were told the reason for the thin BSF presence on the Indian side was the election season, due to which only a skeletal force was deployed, making it difficult to closely monitor these remote areas. But what's really shocking is the well-oiled machinery behind these operations. In the second part of this investigation, India today unmasks the role of touts and traffickers who facilitate these illegal crossings. Our team spoke to the local agents who operate in the area. These touts revealed how they navigate the system with ease. Bribing their way through, timing the border crossings to avoid BSF patrols, and exploiting the terrain. Through Operation Infiltration, we highlight the urgent need for stronger border security measures on the eastern frontier. A special investigative report by Shreya Chatterjee for India Today.
We showed you gaping holes in the India-Bangladesh border where porous stretches and lack of fencing have turned infiltration into a thriving enterprise. Now we go deeper to reveal the people and the systems fueling this crisis. From touts who boast about their infiltration skills to agents profiting of human trafficking, smuggling and illegal migration, what we found is chilling. This isn't just a border crisis, it's a ticking time bomb with grave implications for national security.
That resist permanent installations. To reach this village that has no border fencing, we had to hand over our Aadhaar cards as security deposits. On this boat ride, we met a man who calls himself a tout, someone who has turned infiltration into a livelihood. Speaking casually, he admits to helping people cross over to Bangladesh illegally.
কেস লাগার পরে ভয় নাই আরে এই যে ওই জায়গায় ধরতে আমার নামে আমাকে চিনে দেখে আমার নামে কেস দিয়েছে এটা কোনো কেস হবে তুই তো সরাসরি করতে পারবি কি করে বলো
His tone is one of defiance. No fear of the law, no fear of the BSF. When asked how he manages this, he laughs.
কত বছর ধরে এখন করেছে এরকম 15-20 বছর
আমি অ্যালাউ করি না তো আমি মরব না মানে আমাকে 10টা থেকে 12টা একটা দিতে 3টে 4টে যখন
আর যত
5টা অবধি
আর কুয়াশা হলে তো ভালো সুবিধা
কুয়াশা হলে তো এটা টাইমই দেই না নো চান্স
We arrived in an Indian village across the river that operates as though it is in Bangladesh. Dependency on Bangladeshi goods is rampant, and the Bangladeshi taka is the main currency used here. All of it highlighting the blurred lines in this border region. The tout took us to a point where crossing into Bangladesh is shockingly simple.
BDR
The tout was right. All the while that we were there, Not a single guard was visible on either side. Villagers said the lack of enforcement allows workers from Bangladesh to enter India daily. They come to work in the fields, earn their wage in takas and leave by nightfall.
এটা বিএসএফ এর লোকজনরা ধরতে পারলে তো মুশকিল
না আমরা সেই দেখাশোনা করি কাজ করি আমার সামনে পরিবার খুব চেষ্টা মানে বাধা দেয় আমাদের সামনে না পড়ি আর যদি বিপদে পড়ি তো আমার মতে আমরা যাই আমার মতে আমরা চাই
চলে যাও আর তোমার বাড়ি বাংলাদেশে কোথায়
বাড়ি হ্যাঁ বাড়ি
কি নাম গাড়ি গ্রামের
নামাটারি
হ্যাঁ
নামাটারি এটা 500 কিলো
এটা 500 টাকা
When asked about what they earned, they show us the Bangladeshi taka paid to them by Indian landowners.
এই দেখুন এটা 500
The Indian agent also pointed out a Bangladeshi tout who was hesitant to talk.
ওখান থেকে এখানে আসা যাওয়া কত বছর ধরে গেছে না না তা আজকে কেন এসছো হ্যাঁ
কান দেখতে গেছি
আচ্ছা তাই এরম ভাবে যে আসছো বিএসএফ এর লোক ধরা পড়লে ভয় লাগে
শোনো আপনারা যদি যা ফেরি ছাড়ি দেন কোনো ব্যাপার না আর যদি ছাড়ি না দেন পরে কিছু নেই
সেটা আমি বুঝছি আজকে হবে না
We are told by the Indian tout that by work the Bangladeshi man implied fixing the infiltration business.
কান দেখতে গেছি
কি কাজ তোমার পাসপোর্ট আছে আধার কার্ড আছে
The security threat is not confined to the unfenced riverine stretches alone. The illegal operations are equally audacious along the fenced sections. In Didhata, we met another tout who described his operations in detail.
ঠিক আছে ওটাতে
দুটোকে জয়েন করে ওসার হয়ে গেল
কি হয়ে গেল
মানে চ্যাপটা হয়ে গেল
চ্যাপটা
হওয়ার পরে ওটা মনে করো তার মিডিল পয়েন্টে ওই তারের উপরে কি ওটা ঢুকে দিয়ে বসে দেয় বসে দিয়ে
তারের দিয়ে ঢুকিয়ে দিল ওখানে বসে পড়লো দিয়ে
বসে দিয়ে উপরে দুইটা তার বাঁধলো দৌড়ে দিয়ে তার দুটো ফাঁক হয়ে গেল ওর উপর থেকে মনে করো ওর উপরে দিয়ে একজন কেউ উঠাই দিল দুইজন উঠে দিয়ে ওই ফাঁক দিয়ে ওই টপকার উপরে দেয় ওরা এদিক থেকে এইদিকে আসে এই গ্রাম থেকে আসে ওই দিক থেকে বাংলাদেশ থেকে আসে
এই গ্রাম থেকে কজন আছে তো
এই গ্রামে ভারী বহুত আছে কমসে কম ম্যাক্সিমাম ভারী আছে 40-50 জন আছে টোটাল
40-50 জন মোটামুটি একজন লোকের রকম
একজন লোক পার করতে বেশি মিনিট 5 থেকে 6 মিনিট
5 থেকে 6
যে যাবে তাকে আবার অন্য রাস্তা দিয়ে নিয়ে
This group operates with military-like precision. Spotters keep an eye on BSF patrols on the Indian side and Bangladeshi guards on the other. The moment they see an opening, the operation begins.
এটাও নাকি ইলেকশনের সময় যখন বিএসএফ ডিউটিতে চলে যায় সেই সময়টা তো
সেই সময়টা হয় সেই সময়টা হয় একটু ফাঁকা থাকে ইলেকশন ডিউটির সময় একটু পয়েন্ট ফাঁকা থাকে যেখানে মনে করে এখান এই পয়েন্টটা থেকে এই ক্যাম্প অবধি মনে করে 4টে ডিউটি থাকে এখন আছে মনে করে 3টে একটা করে পয়েন্ট ফাঁকা এই দুটো পুলিশই কভার করে ওই পয়েন্টটাকে দুইটা পুলিশই কভার করতে গেলে তো মনে করো সাইকেল নিয়ে এই যেমন এদিক থেকে ওই ঘর ওখানে একটা ঘর আছে ওখানে গেল তো অটোমেটিক এই পয়েন্টটা ফাঁকা থেকে গেল ওই সুযোগেই ওরা চান্স নেয়
The touts aren't alone in this enterprise. Agents play a critical role after the infiltrators make it across. These agents arrange documents and jobs for the infiltrators, often in Indian cities far away from the border areas. One agent we spoke to boasted about his achievements.
আমাদের আমলে ছিল না যখন ক্যাম্প চালাইতাম না প্রচুর লোক আমাদের হাতে বহুত লোক বাংলাদেশ থেকে এখানে আসছে কিনাটা অনেক লোক আছে এই যে ঘোরাবাড়ি যে শাহপট্টিটা ওরা বাংলাদেশি এটা আমার দিকে আছে আমি ঘাট চলাইতাম আমাদের ঘাট ছিল
এই চোরাকারবারি কাজ করতে মানে মেন মহাজনে এরা ফিল্ডে যেত
আগে 4টে কোম্পানি আমি সুসমিনি করতাম
কে না বন্ধু বান্ধবের পরে
এখন করবো এই যে কুয়াশা পড়বো আমাদের ব্যবসা আবার শুরু হবে ঘটনা খেলবো আবার
The same routes and the same networks are used for cattle, drugs, gold, and even human trafficking. According to BSF sources, in Dinhata alone, these illegal activities generate 80 lakh rupees per day. For each infiltrator that they push across the border, the traffickers pocket between 10,000 and 15,000 rupees. It is this greed for easy money that makes the porous border in Cooch Behar a haven for smuggling, trafficking, and unchecked infiltration. The human cost of infiltration. Hear the stories of those who risk everything to cross the borders and how their plight fuels a dangerous ecosystem. A special investigation report by Shreya Chatterjee for India Today.
To talk about Operation Illegals, I'm joined on this broadcast by S.K. Sood. He's a former Additional Director General of the BSF. Paramita Sarkar joins us. She's a social activist and has been working on anti-trafficking. Manojit Mondal is a political analyst who leans towards the Trinamool. And I have Rajat Sethi, who's a right-leaning political commentator. And with me in the studio, Shreya Chatterjee, senior special correspondent with the National Bureau of the India Today Group. I want to go across and ask Shreya first. That's a very comprehensive report you put together. And coming as it does at a time when Bangladesh is going through so much tumult, has there been an increase because of the chaos in Bangladesh at this moment? Are more people trying to cross over at this moment than in the past?
Well, yes, that's at least what the BSF sources are suggesting, that infiltration has in fact peaked after the turmoil that began in Bangladesh. Potentially, it's also something that happens when they say that these things increase. If there are terrorist and extremist groups who want to settle, they also want to use these kind of covers to infiltrate. That's the reason it is a security issue that they are also having a challenge to handle right now.
Rajat Sethi, the BJP blames the Trinamool, used to blame the UPA government for lackadaisical border management. Now you've been in power for more than 10 years and yet there are so many stretches where, as this ground report finds and captures on camera, illegal immigration is going on in a big way. I mean, this is ultimately the responsibility of the security forces that are deployed on the ground.
So you are right. It is primarily the responsibility of the MHA and through the MHA BSF, which is manning these borders. I agree with you that certain areas, especially the riverine belts of the rivers which flow between the two countries, are the principal areas where the fencing hasn't happened. Largely, the land-based fencing has almost been complete between India and Bangladesh. But, you know, the nature of the rivers which flow into Bangladesh from India, especially the Brahmaputra, has a varying riverbed. At times, during the flood season, it runs into several kilometers. And during the dry spell, it allows, it shrinks in size and therefore allows people to just cross over as well. The same happens on the Indian side border in West Bengal and Bangladesh. There too, rivers are the principal area, which are principal leakage points where we are seeing consistent illegal migration still happening. I believe it's an engineering challenge as well, as I said, because of the varying nature of what time you're looking at in a year. It has become a logistical nightmare for the BSF to also control.
But SK Sood, the fact is you've got so much technology available now, which wasn't available earlier in the form of drones. So many open areas, gaps. It almost seems that the BJP is unable, the BSF is unable to rise to this challenge.
BSF is doing its best as possible. However, there are several other problems related to controlling infiltration. The first of them is repeated withdrawal of the forces from the border. I'm told that during the recent Lok Sabha elections, as much as 50% of the force was withdrawn from the eastern borders. And this also indicates the less priority that is given to the eastern borders as compared to the western ones. Besides the fact of a large portion of the area not being fenced, or more than 25% of 4,000 96 kilometers is not fenced. And the other problem is that replacement of the fencing. The weather conditions on the east are such that the fence deteriorates rapidly, and we do not have adequate funds to replace the fence which gets damaged. Another issue is that there are about 164 villages which are across the fence right on the borders. And these villages, some of the villages share their mosques, some of the villages share a walking track, and in certain cases, the houses are located on both sides of the borders. So the Bangladeshis, they can come there, they come armed with forged Indian papers, and BSF has nothing to distinguish them from Indian nationals. The fence management people, the guards who are manning the fence to control entry and exit, they do not have any technology or any processes to identify whether they are Indian or Bangladeshi. So while you're right, a lot of technology has been inducted, but at the same time, the technology addition does not add to improvement in border guarding.
Okay. No, so Monojit Mandal, one would imagine, given how these illegal immigrants are changing the demographic makeup of the bordering districts, that the Trinamool government on the ground would try and deal with this on more of a war footing. It almost seems as if, what can be done locally to try and push some of these immigrants back, potentially because of vote bank issues. The Trinamool is quite okay with these immigrants coming in.
So I think, Rahul, it's a narrative that has been there since the last 10, 15 years, that Trinamool Congress government, in fact, is indulging in this kind of infiltration. That is absolutely a bluff. And the maximum number of infiltration takes place still in Assam, in the border district of Assam. If you go there, you'll find how Hemanta Biswa Sarma is trying to tackle this problem by now linking Aadhaar card with NRC and so on and so forth. Look, the problem is far deeper than this. It's not just about a particular state government. It has to be a kind of between the state and the center. The border security forces are primarily responsible. Definitely we need to agree upon that. But the border security forces need to take the state government on board. In most of the time, it's because of such narrative that, a particular government is indulging into this kind of infiltration. These joint operations are not possible. The state government has to be taken on board. And now, because of the problems in Bangladesh, it will intensify. It was intensifying after 1971, and it will be intensifying even now. And now the border security forces should be more cautious and more vigilant. And along with that...
Paramita Sarkar, you're an expert on human trafficking. You study this very closely. Has the situation got much worse after the recent turmoil within Bangladesh? And also, who do you hold responsible? Is this just one of those things where there is no solution because of the riverine nature of the terrain? Or do you think that both the state and the centre are simply not doing enough to try and push these infiltrators back?
Basically, that infiltration is a kind of migration. So migration is a natural phenomenon, but when it is becoming unsafe migration, then we have to certainly rethink of it, that actually we are talking about the illegal migration. So the human being is having a nature to search for a favorable condition. So certainly, if there is a political turbulence, political instability in any country, and people will certainly try to find out the way so that they can migrate. Now, it is our responsibility, it is states and also the country and we, the social worker, the media together, it's our responsibility to see into this matter how this migration can be safe migration, legal migration, instead of becoming an unsafe one.
Okay, we've shown you how fast, how touts, agents and porous borders have created a haven for smuggling and illegal migration in the Cooch Behar area. In this third part of the India Today Operation Illegals, we bring you the human stories, the men and women caught in this vicious cycle of desperation and exploitation along India's eastern frontier.
These two Bangladeshi women are currently in the custody of the Border Security Force in Cooch Behar. They were caught while attempting to return to Bangladesh for a family wedding. Here, their story of illegal border crossing.
ফুলবাড়ি তোমার ফুলবাড়ি কবে কাটাতার বের করতে চেষ্টা করলে 10 তারিখ কোন মাসে এই মাসে 10 তারিখ এরকম আগেও এসছো না তো এবার কি কেন এসলে এরকম ধরা পড়ে গেলে বেকার দিল্লি মেলা দিন কাজ করি কাজ করবে বাড়ি যাওয়ার দড়ি দিল্লিতে 15 বছর ধরে আছো কিসের কাজ করো ইট বানাই ইট বানাও দিল্লিতে কোথায় ইট বানায় কোথায় সেটা হরিয়ানা হরিয়ানাতে ইট বানাতে আর তুমি এমনি পাও ইটের ওখানে যে কাজ করো 1000 ইট 500 টাকা ডেলি ঠিকভাবে কেন কাজ করো দেশে কাজ নেই ওদিকে মহিলাদের কাজ দেন যা লেখাপড়া লেখাপড়া নেই
Her story sheds light on the gender bias prevalent in Bangladesh, where women are often excluded from labor-intensive jobs.
কত টাকা নিচ্ছিল বার করাতে একজনকার 15000 টাকা এক একজন মানে তোমার হাজবেন্ডের 15000 তোমার বাচ্চার 15000 বাচ্চারও 15000 তো কত টাকা দিয়েছিল তুমি কত টাকা 15000 করে 5 জন কার
14 দিন হয় দিছি আর ফাইলের টাইম
75000 টাকা দিয়েছিল আধার কার্ড সব হাজবেন্ডেরা কোথায়
এই জল কি খোলা আছে
ওলা গেছে কোথায়
খুলে রাখো না বাথরুমে জলটা বললাম
তোমরা একসাথে যাও না একসাথে যাওয়া দিছে ওরা পাড়েছে মাইনে টাকা দিচ্ছে কোথা থেকে ধরেছে সব গেছে না না কাটা তার পেরোচ্ছিল না নদী পেরোচ্ছিল কাটা
This admission exposes the larger issue of forged documents facilitating illegal migration. Both women were arrested 10 days ago and now face legal action. Through our contacts, we also came across this woman in her 20s. She claims to have worked in the red light areas of Kolkata, Asansol and now Cooch Behar. She insists that she is from West Bengal. Ask for her ID proof and she says her Aadhaar card is kept in Asansol.
তারপর লাইনে কাজ করি আসানসোলে ছিলাম আসানসোলে 6-7 মাস কাজ করেছি অনেক দূরে থেকে আসে আমি যতটা দেখছি বাইরেও কতজন বাংলাদেশেরও চলে আসে আসানসোলে যখন ছিলাম বাংলাদেশের মেয়েগুলো আসানসোলে বেশি
আসানসোলে বেশি এখানে বাংলাদেশি মেয়ে কম আসানসোলে যখন তুমি ছিলে তখন বাংলাদেশের কত মেয়ে ছিল ওখানে তো
ওইখানে সব বাংলাদেশ থেকে এসে আসানসোলে জায়গা কিনেছে বাড়ি করেছে নিজে নিজে সব বাড়ি করে নিয়েছে বাড়িয়ালি হয়ে গেছে এখানে আসানসোলে আমি যতটা দেখলাম আসানসোলে
Then there is this case of a young Hindu boy arrested while fleeing Bangladesh to join his relatives in India. He was caught just 5 days ago near the border. When asked why he fled, he was evasive.
তোমার আত্মীয় ইন্ডিয়াতে তো তুমি ওখানে কেন গেছিলে তোমাকে কখন ধরেছে কেন কি হয়েছে একটু বলো
আমি ওই দিক দিয়ে আমার আত্মীয় বাসী মানে বর্ডার কাছে আমার বাসা না কাছে ভারত বাংলাদেশের কাছাকাছি আমি আত্মীয় বাসা আসছিলাম আমার পুরো আত্মীয় ইন্ডিয়াতে ওখান থেকে আমার বিএসএফ তুলে নিয়ে আসছে
তোমার আত্মীয় ইন্ডিয়াতে তো তুমি ওখানে কেন গেছিলে
আমার আত্মীয় বাসায় আসছিলাম
তাহলে কোথায় আছে
আলিপুর দুয়ারে আছে বিনাটায় আছে হারাতে এসে
It is not clear whether the boy was fleeing religious persecution or seeking a better life. But these arrests highlight the rampant infiltration and exfiltration going on along the North Bengal frontier. The BSF clearly faces a massive challenge in securing this border area. Sources revealed that during election time, the border force is stretched thin. Normally, one BSF Jawan guards 200 meters of the border. But with depleted numbers, this gap widens to one Jawan every 800 meters. At night, the riverine areas turn pitch dark. Defense forces say installing infrared cameras or CCTV here is almost impossible. The river changes its course frequently, and monsoon floods often destroy temporary structures. As our investigation comes to a close, the picture is clear but deeply disturbing. Beyond these stories lies a greater danger: unchecked infiltration that can alter India's demographic balance and provide a cover for terrorist movements. With Bangladesh's current instability, the stakes have never been higher. A special investigation report by Shreya Chatterjee for India Today.
So you have rivers that change course, you've got incessant monsoons that make temporary structures difficult. So what then is the solution? Are there active, tangible ideas that can be pressed into service? Let me put that question to SK Sood first. You know, we've understood the problem through Shreya's report. The question is, what needs to be done to try and fix this at this moment, Mr. Sood?
The most important thing is to ensure that the eastern borders are not thinned out. You see, as I said earlier, almost 50% troops were withdrawn. Earlier in 21, one-third of the troops were withdrawn from West Bengal Assembly, and then we also had a peripheral activity of celebrating Bangladesh's 50 years of independence. Now, all these eat into our manpower. Number two, better technology needs to be inducted. Better technology in the sense that the border guarding systems on our borders remain manpower intensive. We need to ensure that our troops are well rested and they are able to carry out their duties with alertness.
Mr. Sood, the fact that the Trinamool and the BJP are so often daggers drawn, how much does that complicate security arrangements on the ground? You know, to what extent do you think things would be better if the state police and the central security forces that were deployed were actually pushing in the same direction?
See, I would prefer not to go into the conflict between Trinamool and Congress. However, I would say, the central government. However, I would like to say that Border Security Force is a central government force, and its deployment and its operational activities are controlled by its own leaders. Therefore, especially in the context of border guarding, the local state government does not have any role. As I said, we need to improve the manpower output by inducting better technology. Trinamool and central government can carry on with their conflict.
Paramita Sarkar, your suggestions on what can be done to try and reduce this illegal trafficking?
Sir, because I am working in a social sector, so naturally we will always we try that this conflict and the technology upgradation all will be going on, but we need to make the common people aware about the proper safe migration procedure. When they will be leaving, just now I was watching a video that the Aadhaar card is being kept in Asansol. So normally whenever we reach common people, whatever it is a migration infiltration from one country to another country or within the country, certainly it leads to trafficking. So we need to create a sensitization among the people that if you are leaving a place, for which place you are leaving, you need to know very clearly. What is the job or what is the purpose you are leaving? That should be very, very clear to you. Wherever you are going, what will be your staying arrangement over there? Who will be arranging that? What is the amount you'll be paying for that particular staying arrangement? Certainly, you have to ensure that. Most importantly, you are not supposed to cut the connection with the native place. And of course, you carry your own Aadhaar card, voter card. If it is the from one country to another country, certainly with a passport, visa in a proper manner, and don't let others to control your own finance, own luggages, and certainly don't let other people to control your own identity cards.
Okay, Shreya, you spent several days on the ground by speaking to local officials. What were the ideas that they were suggesting might help reduce this infiltration?
I do agree with what Mr. S.K. Sood is suggesting, that we cannot thin down our BSF forces, especially along the eastern frontier, along these vulnerable points, because we know what the vulnerable points are. Well, I also do agree that the state government also needs to step in over here, because you need to create river embankments, you need to change your border domination lines from the east bank to the west bank in these Chor Islands, which are basically the riverine islands. These are work that can also happen once the state government provides the lands to the center. So there is a job left to be done at war footing on part of both the center and the state. Only then probably we can solve this.
Rajat Sethi, the unfortunate part is, because of this political division between the center and the state, both don't seem to be pulling in the same direction. Shouldn't there be certain issues where, the BJP keeps saying illegal immigration into Bangladesh, etc. But so many of these ideas, for example, making land available, ensuring that the state and the center work in close coordination to actually prevent this from happening, rather than just engaging in a political blame game.
No, absolutely. See, look at Assam. Assam was one state which was suffering a lot with illegal migration. Having a similar government both at the center and the state has helped, very aggressively come down against illegal migration, and it has stopped. But, it has spilled over onto the West Bengal side, and there is less of coordination between the central and the state government. The problem here is threefolds. See, first of all, even the center cannot assume that only if you fence it, your job is done. Because we have seen ample number of videos by now that fences can be broken, they are corroded over time, and there is illegal migration even happening when you on paper claim that full migration is there, full fencing is there. Second, you need to also ensure that there is constant patrolling. And third, you cannot create a system within these states, be it West Bengal or Assam, where fake Aadhaar cards are being created by the agents sitting on the other side of the border. If you do not cut this incentive, because the moment an Aadhaar is created, you almost become a bona fide citizen. You just have to apply for a passport and you're a citizen of the country, and you can avail all kinds of benefits, including the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe benefits. Which gives you sort of...
Let Manojit Mondal respond to it, that this business that, you come in, that's one part of the problem. The other is that there's a full ecosystem inside West Bengal that allows these illegal immigrants to then thrive, get Aadhaar cards, ultimately get passports, and then attempt to become bona fide Indian citizens. And secondly, these small ideas that the center needs some land to set up a BSF outpost, that land being denied. I mean, surely the government needs to rise above being petty to look at the larger national cause.
Rahul, I've said, I'm repeating, that these things have been happening in Assam also. And still it's happening. So this is a problem that's been there for the last 50, 60 years. And it will intensify now. And about the land being taken by the BSF, that there is a law that was passed 2 years ago, and BSF has now spreading their territories deep, 50 kilometers deep into the state. So there is no question of it. I mean, I repeat, primarily responsibility lies with the BSF, but yes, they have to shrug off these political tutu mame and work in tandem with the state government. This blame game will certainly not help. And when it comes to the borders, to the foreign policies, the stated position of the TMC and the TMC government is that they will support the central government. But they have to come up with some kind of suggestion. They have to have some trust in the state government. They do not have it now. And when this Bangladesh crisis is going on, Mamta Di should be the first person to be consulted by the Prime Minister himself, because we speak the same language. Mamta Di gels with the people. There are plenty of people who are staying in both the countries in terms of their relationship. So I mean, you have to leave out politics and talk to the state government in a very friendly manner, and they must be consulted immediately. This can be stopped only, again I repeat, a kind of conjoint venture between the state and the center.
Okay.
This is a problem that's been there since 1960s.
We've heard different perspectives. This blame game will get no one anywhere. Ultimately, this is India's national security we're dealing with. Shreya Chatterjee has put out a good investigation that reveals the current state of the problem and the fact that it's getting worse after the political turmoil given the ouster of the Sheikh Hasina regime in Bangladesh. Let's see how the system reacts and whether any steps are taken to make more manpower, make more money, more technology available to our boots on the ground. Thank you very much for joining us.